everyone, my name is Melody. Thank you for clicking on this video. The day one of Free Agent Frenzy is in the books, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I didn't think I was gonna have anything to talk about today. Completely honest, I didn't think I would have a single thing to talk about. I went golfing today. I was like completely stress-free because I was like, you know what? It's Free Agent Frenzy, and the Sabres are in the middle of a tear-down rebuild. Nothing's gonna happen. Nobody's gonna want to come here. We might get a couple, like, you know, fourth liners or guys that just want NHL jobs. We're gonna lose a couple guys, but there's not really gonna be much to talk about. And not even a Jack Eichel trade. Like, I wasn't even worried about a Jack Eichel trade because there was a tweet that came out that said there was a 75% chance that Jack was getting traded today. I was like, I don't believe you. Because if it hasn't happened by now, if it didn't happen by the draft, if it hasn't happened by now, what makes me think it's going to happen on the day where everyone is going to be kind of desperate to, like, throw out money to people? You know what I mean? So the Sabres did end up making a few moves. They did end up losing a couple of my favorite Sabres, so we'll talk about that right now. So we'll start with who they lost. So they end up losing defenseman Jake Mccabe and goaltender Lena Solmark to free agency. Jake Mccabe goes to Chicago, which was pretty expected. Like, I didn't in any way expect Jake Mccabe to re-sign here. I'm pretty sure he has some kind of ties to Chicago, so that didn't surprise me at all. But it was still a huge bummer. Jake Mccabe has been consistently one of my favorite players during this whole, you know, Jack Eichel post-tank era. He was never flashy. He was just a very solid defensive defenseman, but he just always gave his best effort. Like, you never questioned his work ethic. You never questioned his leadership abilities. Like, he was just such a good dude. And I thought future potential, you know, if not for Jack Eichel, captain material. Like, I loved Jake McCabe. I think it was a huge bummer coming off. He got injured. He had a season-ending injury in February, and it was a bummer for two reasons. One, we lost him, and we got, you know, that was the end of his career in Buffalo. Two, we couldn't get any value for him at the deadline, knowing that there probably wasn't a good chance that he would re-sign with the Sabres this offseason. So, tough situation all around for McCabe. I wish him the absolute best in Chicago because, like I said, he was one of my favorite Sabres this entire time. Honestly, the kind of guy, like, I feel like every team could use, like, just solid defensive defenseman, great work ethic. Like, oh, I'm gonna miss him. So then Lena Solmark, our starting goaltender for the past however many years, goes to Boston. That one sucked. Like, Lena Solmark has been so solid in net for the Sabres, especially when you consider how awful the Sabres have been in front of all of their goalies this year. I don't blame Linus at all for not wanting to re-sign with the Sabres. There was a little bit of hope, though, because Kevin Adams recently in a press conference said that he was, you know, that was their main priority, to try to get a deal done with Linus, but they just couldn't get it done. An interesting stat here about, just to tell you how good Lena Solmark is, and I just think he's so underappreciated, and if you watch my videos in the past, you know I'm a huge Lena Solmark fan, not just because of his on-ice play, but I think off-ice he's such a positive human being. He's always smiling. He's always shown that positivity. Oh, I'm going to miss him. I love that guy. But so an interesting stat here. Lena Solmark went 9-6-3 with a .917 save percentage this year. He dealt with a ton of injuries this year, so didn't get a ton of action this year. But the Sabres' other five goalies went 6-28-4 with an .896 save percentage. So you can see the difference. The Sabres were just so bad this year in front of Lena Solmark, and for him to have that kind of record on this team and that decent of a save percentage is just, oh man. I think especially him going to, you know, a Boston team, a playoff team, I think the league is really going to start to see how good Lena Solmark is, and to watch him be able to, you know, play with an actual team in front of him that doesn't allow, like, stupid shots and stupid scoring chances so frequently every game. I think the league's finally going to see how good of a goalie he is, so sucks that he goes to Boston, a division rival, you know, but it is what it is, and I love the guy, and it's not like the Sabres are going to be good anytime soon. They're doing their tear-down rebuild. So you're not going to find me rooting for Boston, but you will absolutely find me rooting for Lena Solmark because I just adore the guy. Also, in case you didn't know, he has the best mask in the NHL. If you haven't seen his mask, he has a minion mask. Amazing. Like, what a legend. And one more thing, Lena Solmark said to Boston media today, Sabres fans, I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. You've always been great to me. Like, I'm gonna miss that dude. I feel like the Sabres could have probably given him more money than the Bruins gave him. Like, they gave him 4 years at $5 million a year. I mean, the Sabres, one, they need a goalie. Two, they need to get to the salary cap floor because they just have so much cap space right now, and obviously no one wants to sign with them, so I don't know how they're gonna get to the floor, especially if they're trading Jack Eichel. That, yeah, assuming they're probably gonna take salary back, but his salary is $10 million right there. But if in the end he wanted to get out of Buffalo, I do not blame him. So Good on you, Lena. So I don't know who their goalie is going to be now because they lost Lena Solmark. They lost Carter Hutton, who went to Arizona. So, like, they don't have a goalie right now, and I'm not sure what they're going to do about that because it's not like the options left are, like, all that good. And you really probably don't want Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen starting now, but we'll see. So now in terms of the additions. So to start, the Sabres signed Vinny Hinostroza, which I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds about right. But I was like, okay, you know, that's a solid depth signing. That's fine. But I wasn't really expecting too much more than that, right? Like signing some kind of like lower level, bottom six kind of forwards. And then the Sabres made an interesting trade. They acquired Will Butcher, defenseman Will Butcher from the New Jersey Devils, along with a 5th round pick for, what, nothing? Future considerations? Okay, sure. But it's these kind of deals that I really wish that the Sabres did a little bit more of. Clearly this was kind of a cap dump for the Devils. The Devils do retain $1 million of his salary. But like I said, the Sabres just have so much cap room. And it's kind of like you're seeing Arizona doing a lot, right? Like they're taking on contracts and acquiring assets. And I feel like if you're going into rebuild mode, don't you want to acquire as many assets as humanly possible? Unless Terry Pegula is going into his don't spend money mode again. But I think it's a smart move. I mean, get bodies and you have tons of cap room to work with. I just think it's so funny that the Sabres now have a habit of like trading for players that like chose not to sign with them out of college. Like Jimmy Vesey, we traded for his rights. He chose not to sign with us and played for the Rangers. Then we traded for him again. And now Will Butcher, when he came out of college, we were down to like his final few teams in consideration for when he came out of college. And then he didn't sign with us and signed with New Jersey, and now we get him back. But at least we really didn't give up anything for him. It'll be interesting to see how he does in Buffalo. I just think it's a smart move for both teams. Like, obviously, New Jersey had to get rid of some money to get Dougie Hamilton in, and Buffalo can take on a ton of salary, and it'd be nice to see him come in and not have to worry about rushing in some of our younger defensive prospects into that role. Like, as much as I know we're going into rebuild mode, the last thing I want is to bring up these guys like, you know, Samuelson. Just bring these guys into what will almost definitely be another losing season, losing culture. If they can go to Rochester and they can develop some more, work on their game, come back when we're ready to start competing, I don't even know what that means anymore, then I think that's probably the better route to go. And who knows, maybe Will Butcher can get back to form. And then they made a couple like other minor league moves, but the move that made me chuckle the most is they signed defenseman Mark Pysyk, who was on the Dallas Stars, who was drafted in the 1st round back in 2010 by the Sabres. Pysyk was dealt in a weird trade by the Sabres. It was, what was it? We traded up in the 2nd round in the 2016 draft. We included Pysyk in the deal. Dmitry Kulikov came back the other way, and we ended up drafting Rasmus Asplund. I just thought it was like a really weird trade, a really weird asset management trade. But regardless, we get Mark Pysyk back. He signs a 1-year deal worth only $900,000. Again, that's fine. I mean, like I said, bring in bodies, like veterans, sure, why not? So my favorite thing about Mark Pysyk is he scored one of the funniest goals I've ever seen live in person. So Mark Pysyk scored what was called the butt goal, if you'll remember. Basically, it was a game during like the first tank year. I think it was 2013-2014 season. It was around Christmas, and so I had family come in. We went to the game. The crowd, despite everyone knowing that the Sabres were in an obvious rebuild with like half of an AHL team, the crowd was lively because that's back when we actually liked the team. And I remember the Sabres, I think it was Tyler Ennis. He scored late to send the game to overtime. So then the game went to overtime, and this was back when it was still 4-on-4 overtime. And Mark Pysyk scored this weird-ass goal. So he had the puck, he kind of shot it on net. Mike Smith was the goalie. And then it chipped up in the air. It went directly up in the air, right in the back on Mike Smith's pants. And Mike Smith kind of, like, you could see the puck laying on his back in his pants. And he, like, skated, he kind of moved back into the net. So the puck goes in the net. You can see it clearly in the net. And Mark Pysyk gets credit for the overtime goal. And I was there for that. We were up in the 300 level, and, like, we had no idea what was going on. And because the camera angle couldn't get it, but, like, on TV you could have, you know, Rob Ray was there, he circled the puck, and he's like, look, here it is. But when we were there, we didn't know. We couldn't see. So then the ref comes on and he says it's a good goal, and we're like, okay, cool. We didn't see it go in, but that's cool. And then we were getting phone calls after the game like, did you see what happened? It was on his butt. So that is my Mark Pysyk memory. So the fact that he's back, it just makes me chuckle. So yeah, I mean, nothing crazy for the Sabres, which obviously nothing was expected, but you know, they did stuff that I can talk about, so that's nice. So the biggest thing is that day one of free agency has come and gone, and Jack Eichel is still a Sabre. He hasn't been traded, and I think That's not a good thing if you're the Sabres. I mean, if you truly want to trade him, I'm not sure it was a good idea to wait until a day, like I said, where everyone's throwing money at people. Like, if you look at LA was a team that was rumored to be in Jack Eichel trade talks. Well, they just threw a ton of money at Philip Deneau. Other teams are throwing money around, and it's like, you know, how many teams is Jack Eichel even a possibility anymore, right? Like, if teams are getting so close to the cap, how are you going to make this happen now, Kevyn Adams? I mean, I'm fine with it. You guys know I'm fine. I don't want Jack Eichel traded, but, you know, do you want a miserable Jack Eichel coming into training camp saying, I'm only here to not get fined and I'm here to honor my contract and, like, play not to get injured to start the season? I don't really want that. But if you're not getting the return that you want, like, you can't have an underwhelming trade return, right? So if no one's offering you what you want, wait it out. So it is refreshing to know that Kevyn Adams isn't just giving Jack Eichel away. Obviously, we don't know what's been in the phone conversations yet. We don't know what Kevin is asking for. We don't know what other teams are offering. But if it hasn't been good enough for Kevyn Adams, then, I mean, I guess that's something to feel good about. But we will wait and see. We don't know how these next few days are going to hold. I love how, like, all the reports coming out from, like, I don't know where the leaks are coming from, but, like, you know, Darren Dreger reports things like, yeah, Jack Eichel is getting really frustrated that it's taking so long. And it's like, who the hell cares? You got 5 years left on your contract, dude. Just, my God. Like, I could get wanting a trade, but, like, you're not giving us a deadline. We're not on your timeline here. We're on our own timeline trying to get the best deal for our team. So if he's really getting impatient and frustrated, like, that's kind of funny, I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting impatient and frustrated because I just want this damn saga over with. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, that's it for the Sabres moves. A little bit more, honestly, than I anticipated. I didn't think they would even, you know, be playing in this game. But hey, something to talk about, right? As always, don't forget to let me know down below what you think of the Sabres moves or what you thought of your favorite team's moves today. I know there was a lot of movement going on in the NHL, a lot of fun stuff. Way more fun than what the Sabres did. But, you know, let me know in the comments below. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you soon. Go Bills. Bye, guys. Yeah, the Bills reported to training camp today. That's the news of the day.